Hello, welcome to How to Play Like a WoW Pro, episode number 31. Today I have a very nice replay in the KPZ where I do over 7,000 damage on Mountain Pass. To start off with, let's just go over equipment that I like to run on this tank. This tank is very fast, it goes like 65 and it reaches that speed pretty easily, so I don't really feel the need to run a turbo. And so I don't run a turbo loadout. I run one loadout with rammer, V-stab, and HP, and then the other loadout I like to run rammer, V-stab, vents. And I don't run a turbo loadout for two reasons. The first reason is the reverse speed on this thing is like 25 or something, so it doesn't really need extra reverse speed. And second of all, you're basically almost always getting to your initial position way before the enemies, so the extra speed doesn't help on very many maps at all. The only map that I've played so far where I felt like I could have used a turbo would be Tundra to take the hill, but besides that, I just don't think it's necessary. I just think other equipment pieces are more valuable. Now what I like to do on Mountain Pass from this spawn in medium tanks is usually if I'm fast enough, which you always are pretty much in a medium tank, is I like to go here in the beginning to this corner. And I want to try to over peek a little bit and spot if any heavy tanks are making their way along this road right here to make it over to this flank. Now whenever you play this corner, you always have to try to spot check for where enemy light tanks could be, or medium tanks, or even tank destroyers. But just keep in mind when you poke this corner, you want to do it slowly if possible, because there are three main positions you can get spotted from. You can get spotted from right here where the Barask is playing, you can get spotted from this bush here, and then you can get spotted from this bush right here on the edge. So if you poke, I would recommend poking halfway, seeing if you get spotted from either of these two bushes. And then if you don't get spotted, then you can poke a little bit further and spot check this location here and see if somebody's there. But in this situation, the Barask was playing on the left, so I couldn't really spot check the other two locations. But this is what this position is good for. You can get free shots on heavy tanks that are making their way over. Now this tank is, in my opinion, very good. I've been playing it with full AP. It has 3,300 DPM if you fire AP. And then the HE has 90 millimeters of penetration, and it has like 5.5k DPM with the HE, which is just completely ridiculous. It has 200 alpha on the AP, and so you can put 2 shots in for every 1 shot that the enemy puts in very easily. Sometimes even 3, if it's like a 390 alpha damage gun. Now here, what I did, I just sat here pre-aiming the Barask, and I waited for my 6th sense to go off. And when my 6th sense went off, that tells me that he's in this bush. This is a strategy you can use sometimes, especially in a situation like this where you have nothing else to shoot and you're just waiting for an enemy to poke. Now I know he's aiming at me, so I'm trying to do really quick pokes so he doesn't shoot me. But as a spoiler, at the end of this battle I actually hit 2 blind shots, and I think one of them was on the Barask and one of them was on the Charioteer, so I have like 600 blind damage because I was firing HE. Or something about there. Now here I was thinking about going down to shoot these guys in the side, but I spot a Charioteer in the meantime, so I decided not to go down. I'm just going to shoot at him, obviously. Here's the HE being put to good use. The HE on this thing is incredibly good, but what I see a lot of people do in tanks like this or the EBR is they just get too greedy with the HE. If you're not almost 100% sure that you're going to pen the HE, then just don't fire it. Because even if you get 2 pens with the HE, if your third one is a non-pen, it's basically the same as if you just fired 3 AP shells. So unless you're more than 66% confident, if you're 66% confident that you're going to pen the HE shell, then it's probably worth to fire. But any lower than that, don't fire it. And if they're just like, and a lot of times when you're firing HE, especially if it's a tank that's going to die, or that's low HP, sometimes AP will kill them in the same amount of shots regardless, so risking the non-pen is just not worth it. Now here I'm doing the same thing where I'm spot checking, and I'm not getting lit, so I decide to go down. Now this is not a play that I make very often at all, because usually the enemies don't go to this corner, but if they do go to this corner, this is an aggressive play that you can do. But you just have to be paying attention to what's going on really on this map, because there's not, besides this initial play of spotting heavies crossing, there's not really a obvious way to get damage after that. Like, you can go to this flank, you can contest the bridge if they have guys pushed it crossed, or you can do what I'm doing here, or you can even go here and shoot people, although it's pretty risky and pretty difficult to do. It really just depends on the situation. So, like in a lot of these map videos that I've been doing, I've been basically telling you how to play the map, but if you really want to be like the best player possible, you have to adapt to every situation and just watch the minimap, because a lot of the time there is no obvious play. You have to make the play, and you have to figure out what the best play is. And so I can't really teach you that very well with these videos, besides giving some examples of those kind of situations. But anyways, when it comes to shooting this corner here, one trick that you can use is approach wide like this, like I did here. And what will that will allow you to do is keep them at the edge of your spotting circle. So here he's on the very edge of my spotting. He's a Pershing, so he should spot me, because he has great view range, but he doesn't. And unfortunately, they pushed around the corner, so I can't shoot them. If they would have just sat here on the corner and my team was sitting here, then I would have farmed them for a lot of damage in the side. But now I decide to poke up here. We've won the south, so there shouldn't be any tanks in here. All of their tanks should be up here, maybe right here where the Centurion is, or maybe back here. And so I'm preloading HE because I see that they have an unlit RHM and an unlit Scorpion. And people love to just camp back here in these bushes with their TDs. So there I spot check. I poke up, I see that I get lit, and that's what tells me to fire. And their RHM shoots at me. I'm not really worried about the enemies coming behind us right now, because just a few seconds ago this Progetto was still up here, so they couldn't really flank behind me without just getting destroyed. But now that my team is committed down, it's a little bit more risky, but we have 3 teammates here, so it should be fine. I'm taking more blind shots. Didn't get lit there, so he's not poking. I'm waiting till I get lit, and then I fire as soon as I get lit. And what I decide to do is I don't think this RHM is going to just sit out in the open in front of me, and if he does, there's a chance he could shoot me, even if I'm just quick poking up and shooting him back. So I decide to come over here instead and see if there's anything I can do. When it comes to poking ridges versus enemies, what you have to realize is that your perspective, your point of view, when you're in sniper mode, comes from your gun on basically every model of tank. And so you have to poke up this high on the ridge before you're going to get a shot on them, which means that they have this shot on you, and everything above this line. So especially in a tank like a 4005, which has a massive forehead, whenever you're playing on a ridge, you have to keep that in mind, that they can see you way before you can see them. So that's why it's just not worth risking that RHM unless he's not expecting me to poke. But another reason why I came down here is because I know if I leave and then come back, and it's been like 10 or 15 seconds, he's probably going to be poked and just waiting for me. And he won't expect it when I poke again, because I'll have left and came back. And I go for a blind shot there, and I actually hit him. Unfortunately, he has an auto fire, which saves him. Now this is one of the problems with committing down into this dip here. You really don't want to do this unless you absolutely have no other choices. or if you think that it's going to be a big opportunity, because once you're down here, it's very hard to get out. And in a situation like this, where it's a really close game, I ideally want to be getting out of this pit so that I can fall back in case we start to lose. But I don't really have a choice right now, because if I cross this way, then I'll get shot by the Samyo. If I go up here, then the RHM can hit me. So instead I just decide to face them and brawl. Now I hear the Samyo fire a couple times, so I'm guessing that he might be reloading, and I'm just waiting to see if he'll shoot at me, and he doesn't, so now I know he's on reload. And when you're shooting at a Samyo, by the way, and you have like 200 penetration, you want to aim for the turret cheeks. You don't want to aim for the top side of the turret at all, because that's usually going to bounce. Just aim for either the lower plate if you're directly in front of him and he's angled up like this, or for the turret cheeks. The turret cheeks are the most reliable. Now unfortunately I see that their Scorpion G is here, and we have nobody right now covering us from here or here. So if they pushed me right now with these two tanks, then I would just die. So I'm really hoping they're not going to do that. And thankfully they don't. And this is where you can see the 5.5k DPM with the HE is just completely insane. It was literally 6 seconds there and he's already on 100 HP from full health. Now I haven't forgotten about the RHM, so I blind fire him. But now that I've killed the Scorpion, I feel pretty fine, because this Centurion cannot YOLO me, because I'm full HP and he's full HP, but I have way more DPM than he has, so I'll just kill him. I'm thinking about trading with the Renegade right now, because now we're up a lot, or at least a decent amount, and I feel like I can afford to. But he makes it easy for me and he just pushes out in the open. Now here, the next shot I'm gonna fire HE. I thought that I could pen this, but apparently it's harder to pen than I thought it was, because I don't full pen him, which sucks because I miss out on some damage, but it's whatever. Here I'm just going for the blind fire, because I thought he was still there, but he's not. But now it's just a matter of cleanup. It's just a Centurion left. And I ram him for some extra damage as well. Track him for some extra assistance. And there we go. 6,600 scene damage, 1,400 spotting. This is actually 7,200 because of the blind on the Charioteer and the Barask. But it was 2,050 base XP, if you're wondering. I'm not going to bother showing the post-game stats, I don't think. But yeah, Top Gun as well. Pretty good game. So I hope you learned something about how to play on Mountain Pass, and maybe learned something about this amazing premium tank. I would highly recommend picking this thing up. It's very good. It is pretty hard to play, like, it's pretty variable. You have a lot of good games, but then a lot of bad games. It's not something that I do really consistent damage in, like I do with the Progetto, because your DPM is extremely high, but your alpha is very low. So on maps where you're just trading 1 for 1, it's really hard to make this tank work. But on open maps, especially, where there are just tanks in the open, like Prokhorovka, you usually will have a very good game if you can pen your shots and you don't take too much damage. So yeah, I'll probably put out another video tomorrow. I don't know what day I'll be releasing this video on, but I think I'll release another one the next day, so we'll see. See you guys later. Thanks for watching.